In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can make this paper bell ornament with a ribbon for hanging. And then when I finish this one, I will show you how you can dress it up a little bit if you have some bead caps that you want to put on there, maybe some tassels, and maybe a dangling bead. But to get started with this basic one, you just need a square inch piece of paper. I'm using a 6x6 square. That's what this was made from. It's a perfect size for a hanging ornament. And then a piece of ribbon that's about 7 to 8 inches, a little bit of white glue. You can use Elmer's glue or PVA. That's what I'm going to be using. I've got a little bit of that poured into this cup here that I'm going to use a brush for, but any white glue is okay. And as far as the paper goes, I really like to use scrapbook paper because it's about the right weight. If you use cardstock, what's going to happen is when you fold it, you're going to get these cracks in here on the edges, and it just doesn't look very nice. It's a little bit too heavy for this ornament. But you can also fancy up this paper a little bit if you want by putting some glitter paint on there. You can see how this adds just a little bit of sparkle, makes it really nice. Or start with plain paper and paint it with some metallic paint if you want. And for this I used an 80-pound basic drawing paper and painted the paper. So you want to start by having your paper with the design that you want showing face up for the first 2 folds. So we're just going to take the bottom and bring it up to the top and fold it in half. Open it up, turn it, and then do the same thing this way, folding it in half, bringing the bottom up to the top. Okay, then at this point you're going to turn it over, and all the other folds will be done with your paper face, the design paper face down. So now we're going to take this corner here and bring it up to that corner to make a little triangle and fold that, making a nice crisp fold. Open that up, turn it, and do the same thing here just by bringing this point up to that point for another triangle. Okay, then you're going to start with it in this diamond shape here, and you're going to want to bring this edge here into the middle, and you're going to be making a kite-like shape. So you want to fold this to get as nice a sharp point here as you can. Just work slowly and kind of work it into place, and then crease that so that edge was brought in to meet that center fold line. Crease that. Now I'm going to take the other side and just bring it in to meet that, making as nice a sharp point as you can, because that's going to make your ornament look really good if you can get a nice sharp point there. Okay. Now you're going to open that up, and now you have to do that on the rest of the 3 points. So I'm just going to turn it and do the same thing here. Bring this side in to meet this one. Open it up, turn it again. This is our 3rd one. Just easing that into a nice point there. And I'm going to turn it, and we've got this last one. Okay, so I did all 4 points. So if you've got all of the folds that you're supposed to have, this is what the lines are going to look like. You're going to have all these different lines on there. You should be able to see all those creases. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the middle of the sides and the top and bottom and just kind of squeeze them in a little bit like this. So you're making kind of a cup here. And then as you bring these further in, you're bringing these points up to the top, but you've got to, at the same time, you just want to push down on the middle there. And just kind of play with that a little bit, pushing the middle down and bringing these pieces up here. I've just got to push down in the middle one more time there, and then that piece will come right up. Okay, so, and then when you turn it over, you can just pinch these creases here so that you have a little peak right in the very middle. And so it's kind of like this. You have 4 little peaks here that you're going to bring together. So now you're going to glue 3 of them together. You need to leave this last one open so that you can get your piece of ribbon in there. So I'm just going to take my glue and just put it around the edges here. I mean, you could use glue dots if you wanted to, then you wouldn't have to wait for the glue to dry. But I like to get a good seal all the way up and down the fold on here. Oops. Okay, so now I'm just going to pinch these together, making that form a nice point at the top. And then just hold that for a little bit, kind of pinching the edges so that they meet and that they're going to get glued together. And then you want to let this completely dry before we move on to the next part where we're going to add the ribbon and fold this in to make the final bell. So I'm just going to put this aside. And I've got one that's already finished gluing. So this one's ready for the ribbon and to have the final gluing. So I'm going to take my piece of ribbon and I'm just going to tie a knot. I'm folding it over and I'm just going to tie a knot in the end. Okay, so I've just got a loop with a knot in the bottom. And now I'm going to take my glue and put it around the edges here. And then just an extra dab of glue right here in the middle of the point, just to hold your ribbon in place really good. So then I'm going to add the piece of ribbon with the knot going in there. You want the knot to be below when you close it up. So you're kind of locking that little knot in there, and then that way it's not going to pull out. And then just kind of pinch that together like you did with the other 3, and it just needs to dry completely. And then you'll have your finished bell. To make some of these fancier ornaments that you're seeing here, you're just going to need a few more tools and a few more supplies. You're going to want to have some wire cutters, some round needle nose pliers, and these regular needle nose pliers are optional. I mean, it's nice if you have them, but if you don't, you can get away with just the round one. And then an awl, because you need to punch a hole in the bottom of the ornament, and I like using this handmade one here it's just a needle and a piece of cork. And you're going to need some wire. And the gauge on this is kind of important because you don't want it so thin that it's going to break, but you don't want it so heavy that it's hard to work with. So the gauge that I like to use is this thin 24 gauge wire, and the higher the number goes, the thinner the wire is. So I would go between 24, 22, or this one here is a 20 gauge wire, and that would be about the heaviest that I would want to work with. And then you need some jewelry findings, things like I found these different cone bead caps in the store, and you would find these in the jewelry section, for making jewelry. And I found these recently, these very cute little metallic tassels. They look really nice at the bottom of the ornament. And then some of the flatter bead caps like these here. I found it's a lot easier for some reason to find the silver finish findings than it is to find the gold ones. I don't know why, but there's more of those usually in the store. And then also these things over here are just pieces that I've taken off of costume jewelry that I have, and they'll make really nice little dangle beads at the bottom of your ornament. So this one here is the one I'm going to show you how to make. It's got the little silver dangle bead at the bottom and a crystal bead, a silver bead cap, another bead cap here. This is the cone bead cap on the top, another bead, a silver bead, and then some wire to finish that off. So let me just move these things out of the way. So you want to start with the paper bell that you have all the way to the point where the three sides are glued. So you just have the one flap that's open, because you need to be able to work on the inside with the wire and pulling it through from the bottom to the top. And then we'll, just like we did with the ribbon, and then we'll glue that shut at the very end. And then you want a piece of wire. I'm using a piece that's about 15 inches long. If you're making, if you started with your 6-inch square, this should be enough. I like to have enough extra so that I don't have the beads falling off the top when I'm working, and just to give me some extra working room. So I'm going to take my 15-inch piece of wire and just fold that. And then I've got all my little beads and bead caps that I'm going to use in here. So to start, I want to have my little silver dangle bead. So I'm going to put that on one end of the wire, just feed that through. So that's going to be at the very bottom, just kind of dangling. And I'm just going to pinch the wire so that it's a little bit closed down there. And then the next bead I'm going to put on is this kind of pinkish crystal bead. And I'm going to put both ends of the wire through there. And then just pull that down and tighten it up against the little dangle bead there. So it's just has a little loop there. And then I want to put the bead cap on, and make sure you remember that the bead cap needs to be with the cup side facing up when you string it, so that it's going to kind of cup the bottom of the ornament. Okay, so that's everything I want on the bottom. So now I need to take my awl and punch a hole in the bottom of the ornament. So I've got my peak there, and I'm just going to poke a hole right in the middle. And then I'm going to feed both pieces of wire through that. And then just grab the wire from the inside and pull that up. And then you can check to make sure before you go any further that you like how this looks on here. And then I'm going to put the other pieces on. So this is the other bead cap. Now, most of the time these will come and they're really pinched together. And to sit nicely on the top, I usually will spread them out just a little bit, and then you can just kind of check and see how it fits on there. Let's see, so I might want to spread those out just a little bit more to make it fit better in there. Let's see. Because you don't want to have it so tight that it's going to bend your paper. It still needs to be a little bit wider. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm not going to glue yet, but I'm just going to finish my beading, and then I'll get back to that. So I'm going to string that other bead, and then the silver bead is the last one I'm putting on the top. So to make sure that while I'm working, these beads don't go flying off the end of this wire, I'm just going to, very close to the end, I'm just going to make a little circle there, or just crimp that a little bit so that you're not going to lose your pieces off the end. Because now you want to go ahead and take your glue, and it's time to seal up this last little peak. Okay, then I'm just going to, holding the wire up to the middle, I'm just going to pinch that last panel in there. And then just kind of, again, you're going to have to just be patient and let that dry before you can finish, because it's going to be really hard to, it's just going to keep popping open if it's still wet. So then I'm just going to bring these pieces down. Put that bead cap in place, and then just tighten it up a little bit. And this is where I'm going to use the needle nose pliers. I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to make a loop in the top. Fold that over and just make a loop. Okay, and then once I've got my loop, I'm just going to pinch it, and then I'm just going to wrap it several times around the top of that bead, just to secure that loop. And then you can fiddle with that loop and make it a nice shape. And then you just need to take your wire cutters and just snip off that extra wire as close as you can to the, and then if you can feel it, if it's sticking out a little too much, you can take your other needle nose pliers and just kind of give it a little pinch, and it will tuck that pointed end piece in. And then you're all set. You've got your finished beaded ornament, and you can just go ahead and put a ribbon on there and get ready to hang it. For a different variation, turn the bell upside down and you'll get ornaments that look like these. I hope you're going to have a lot of fun making your paper bell ornaments. And if you're on Instagram or Facebook and you'd like to share, I'd love to see what you've made. And you can also tag me at Kathy Johnson Art.